everybody, I'm Adriana and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video that I am super excited about. I'm excited about the topic, and I know that a lot of you guys have been asking me to make this video because I've brought it up a couple times, and now we're finally doing it. So today I'm going to be making a video all about how I do my quiet time with God, how I read my Bible, how I spend time with God, how I make sure that when I'm praying and I'm spending time with him, I'm doing effectively, and just kind of that whole process that I go through, and how I'm making the most of my time with God and giving him my all in those moments. Preface, I'm not perfect. I try to do this every day. I know it doesn't happen all the time, and this is almost like a service to you guys, like just trying to share my experience with you, but it's also a reminder to myself, because every time I see this video it's going to remind me, like, just bringing me back to the word, you know. So there's lots going into this video, but I hope that this helps you. I hope it serves you, and let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I think that is really important to make sure that you have down packed when you are going into your time with God is figuring out a time that you're going to do this. I think the number one reason people bypass this important part of their day is just because they don't have enough time. None of us have enough time, ever. No, everybody's busy. Nobody says, oh, I'm just never busy. Like, nobody says that. So definitely making a time, making it part of your routine, and making it a priority is probably the biggest, most important part of this whole process. You know what I mean? So pick morning, pick nights, pick your lunchtime. I don't know, just pick a time. For me, I kind of go back and forth between morning and nights. On the days that I am working or I know that I'm going to be busy the whole day, I keep it at nights, that way I can fully focus, because if I do it in the morning on a day that I'm really busy, I have a really hard time shutting my brain off, and so it's just easier for me to like fully commit to the Lord when all of that's done and my mind is clear. So that's when I like to do that. I typically like to do it at night on those days, and the days that it's just like a day to myself, I have a day off, like today's my day off. I may have things to do, but they're not really important. Then I like to go ahead and do it in the morning, just so I can start my day off being productive, feeling good, and being in the Word. You know what I mean? So definitely figure out what works best for you, but definitely pick a time that, one, you can just really give your all and just really dive deep and not be distracted by anything else in your brain. Okay, so next thing is the way I do my quiet time. I guess I've had a hard time figuring out how I want to word this, but the way I go about doing my quiet time is I follow a Bible plan on the Bible app. I use the YouVersion Bible app, and there are so many different plans that you can do. There's a bunch of different devotionals, just so many different plans that you can follow to just kind of lead you in your reading and just re-inspire you, I guess. I'm doing the Bible in a Year plan. It's the one with the Bible Project, so it has little videos beforehand to kind of explain what you're about to read, and every time you enter into a new chapter there's another video just kind of explaining, laying the groundwork, so you kind of have like a good structure to go on and then keep reading, because sometimes when you're reading you might miss something and just bring something to your attention, or something that you can keep an eye out for in the passage that you're reading, which I really love. Okay, so regardless of what time it is, whether it's the morning or the night, what I do is I open up my YouVersion Bible app, and I will open up my Bible in a Year plan with the Bible Project. Like I said, it either starts off with a video or you just read a couple chapters of the Bible. It starts all the way from Genesis all the way until Revelation, so you got the whole thing there. What I love is that it actually has like different chapters out of different books in the Bible, just so like you're truly just like invested in the Word and you're actually reading it from beginning to end. There's very many different ways to read the Bible, but I really wanted to just focus in on doing it this way first. So I've been really enjoying this plan so far. And basically what I do going into my quiet time is I actually don't read the Bible first. The first thing I do is I have a notebook, this little notebook right here, got it from TJ Maxx, love it a lot, has little lemons on it, and then I was like, ooh, lemons, fruit of the spirit, holy. But anyways, I just really like that notebook. But I use this notebook for all of my notes, journaling, anything. This is like my Bible notebook, and I'm a writer, you know, like I'm in the journalism school, so writing comes very naturally to me. It's very easy for me to communicate through writing, and so I just like to go about that way in talking to God and just getting it all out there. So before I even start reading my Bible is I will journal, and I will just write about whatever I feel is on my heart that day. Like if I'm feeling far from God, I'll write about how I feel far from God, or if I'm just like confused, or like basically whatever is on my heart. Before getting into the word, I write it down, and when I'm writing in this notebook, I write as if I'm writing to God. So it's almost like all of it is communication. Like this is my communication with God, everything in here. Like nothing in here is really passive. I try for everything I write here to be very intentional. So if I write notes, I'll explain kind of how I write notes later, but everything is very much communication. This is like my big letter to God, basically, and I just talk to him that way at this part in my whole little quiet time journey. So I'll write down whatever is on my heart. That way I can just get it all out. I can just tell him how I'm feeling, what I need from him, and I just get it all out on paper right at the beginning. Like that's just the first thing, and it just helps me kind of clear my mind going into it. It helps me kind of realign myself. Like it's almost like a meeting with myself and with him just before I actually like read and learn from his word. And so I just really like doing that, and that really helps me. You can always pray going into your quiet time. This is kind of like praying for me, but that's just kind of how I like to go into it. It's just like a good way. I like to have documentation of it. So I do that first, and then I go ahead and I open my app. And I actually don't like to read from the app itself, just because my phone is a really big distraction to me, and if I get a text message, I'll be tempted to go away from it, or it'll distract me. And I just try to eliminate all distractions as possible. So I will open the app, I will look, if it has a video, I'll watch the video, because that's why I'm invested in what I'm looking at, you know. And so I'll either watch the video, and then I will look at the chapters that it has laid out, and then I will put my phone away, and then I will open up my Bible. Ta-da! So I put away my phone, open my Bible, and I will read what it is that was set out in the plan. When I'm reading, I try to take notes. I don't try to take notes when I'm reading, but I am aware of things that I want to note. For example, when I'm reading the Bible, I can't remember who it is that told me this, but they said, what was it? They said that when you're reading the Bible, try to look out for two things. Try to look out for what in the word, try to keep an eye out for how God is showing his character, and your character, like as a human, like the character of humans. And that is what I try to take notes of. Obviously, it's a lot easier to learn about God's character when you're reading about Jesus, you know, because he's just always speaking, and he's always just serving up a good word, you know what I mean? And like it's literally him speaking, so it's easier to kind of tune your ear to his voice and hear what he's saying, and see to really understand who he is and how he is and his character, you know what I mean? But in the Old Testament is a little bit harder sometimes, so you have to actively be looking out for it, or at least I have to actively be looking out for it, and those are the things that I try to take a note of. And then after that, another thing that I have in my mind is the character of humans, and like my character and how I see myself in the people of the Bible. And there are times where it's good things, and there are very, very many times where it's bad things. And I think it's really humbling when you're reading the Bible, because sometimes you look at someone in the Bible and you're like, they are so terrible. Like, how could somebody be that terrible? Or like, how could you just like continually complain to God about something, like when he's continually like delivered for you, you know what I mean? And looking after reading and thinking about, okay, what does this say about me? Because I think that everything really says something about God, and it says something about me. And so I try to take a note of it, and it's just a constant check, and making sure you're reading intentionally and you're actually getting something out of it every time. And so those are the things that I take notes of when I am writing notes. Also, if something surprises me, if something stood out to me, if there's anything that I have a question about, I'll write it down so I can go look at it later, or maybe so I can read it in a different version. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about taking notes in reading. I don't really put too much of an emphasis on taking notes, just because I really want to be like in it, and I want to just fully read it and just be immersed in it. But looking out for those things, I try to write them down just so I'm more aware, and just so I don't get caught in like the reading passively, and I'm reading intentionally looking for something almost. So that's what helps me really read intentionally when I'm reading and being in the word in that time. Another thing is I try to eliminate any distractions. So I will be in my room by myself. Like, that's just how I like to do it. I personally can't really do quiet time outside. Like I like to be in my room by myself, just door closed, quiet, all of that. I can't really do it with worship music on. Some people that works really great for them. I'm just very, very easily distracted. So if I have to go turn off the lights in my closet and sit in my closet and read my Bible, then that's what I gotta do to like get away from distractions that day. So that's what I do for reading the Bible. So start off with journaling to God, then I read my Bible, write the notes on the things that show God's character or share my character, the character of humans, and then from there, after that, I will go back to journaling. So after I read what has been set out for the plan, sometimes I'll read a little bit more, sometimes I'll read a little bit less. Actually, I try not to read a little bit less just because I'm definitely like a to-do list kind of gal. Like I need it to all go away and check off all the little bullet points. So yeah. If I read a little bit more, then I like that because then the next day I feel a little bit more productive. But after I finish reading, I will start journaling again. And I will look over the notes that I wrote down, and then I will write again what I'm feeling about God, you know? So like if whatever it was that was spoken of God's character, like I'll write about that, and I'll just kind of write about the feelings that I feel after having read it, what I think it says, what I think it means to me, what I think, again, like going back to his character, my character, and just kind of elaborating on that. And obviously this is if I have a lot of time set out for this, you know, not every day looks like this. And I will tell you what I do when I have days with less time, but this is kind of how it goes when it goes according to plan. This typically takes about 45 minutes to an hour, either in the morning or in the afternoon, and that works for me. So find something that works for you. But yes, so I will write about all of that, and then I will just kind of like sit on it, meditate on it, write it all out, and then I will go into prayer. And so the way I like to do this is I like to go ahead, take my notebook, and write out everything I want to pray for. Like everything, like anything, like if it's an internship, if it's for my family, or if it's for health, or like something like that, like broad, specific, anything that I want to pray about that day, I like to write it down. And then after writing it down, then I will go ahead and speak, you know what I mean? And then I will say it out loud and I will elaborate. So I kind of do like bullet points, and then when I'm talking to God, I will actually elaborate on it and try my best to have a conversation with him. The reason I do this is because I have found that I used to be you should be talking to God all the time. You know, you should be in constant prayer, constantly talking to him, constantly praying to him. But to me, I found that it isn't until those moments when I sit down with nothing else going on, just time completely set apart to talk to him, that I truly feel the closest to him, and I truly feel like I am getting the most intentional time one-on-one with God. And that's a time where I truly feel like I am just giving all out to him, and he's just giving me all his attention. I'm giving him all of mine. And so from writing it down, I know that I got everything I could possibly think of out, and it kind of reminds me of things too. When I'm running, I'm like, oh, also I forgot about that, you know what I mean? So that really helps me, especially because if I'm just like praying, talking, I'm going to ramble, I'm gonna get off topic. My mind might go somewhere else. I might forget something, and so I just kind of like this to kind of be like groundwork, you know, like if you're in a meeting for like your job or for anything like that, you have an agenda. Like you have an agenda of what y'all want to talk about, what you want to get accomplished during this meeting. And that is the same thing. Like this is my meeting with God. I want to make it productive, I want to make it intentional, and I want it to be fruitful. And so this is my agenda, this is what I want to talk about, and then anything else that is on my heart when I'm talking to God, we will talk about it, pretty much. So this is my one-on-one meeting time, getting it done. And so that's kind of my agenda, my bullet points for prayer. And I also really like that just because then later when I see the fruit of that prayer and I see something be answered, or I see how he used something I prayed about, then I can look back and then like reflect on what he's done. And so it's really excellent in the moment, and it's also excellent to reflect on as well. So I really like doing that. So I start my quiet time with journaling, reading the Bible, and taking notes about God's character, my character, and the way he speaks to his people and his relationships with his people. And then I go ahead and write out my prayers, and then I speak my prayers, and then I just kind of leave the floor open to God. So that is how I typically go about my quiet time in ideal situations. Not every day looks like that. I try my hardest, but actually I really can't say I try my hardest. You know, if I said I try my hardest, it would be done every day. But I try to make it done like that every day. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes it is a crazy day. And so something I will do instead, if it's a really crazy day, I will either just read a devotional on the Bible app like I had told you guys about. Some days I try to supplement with that. So like instead of looking at social media before I go to bed, I'll like read one of those instead. And so I really like that. But something that I've been trying to do on the days that I can't really devote like a full 45 minutes to an hour is I will pray. I really try to do that every day. Just like sit, pray out loud to God. I definitely get in my head a lot, and it's very easy just to like pray in your head and like be like, no, this is cool, it's fine. And like for some people it's fine, but for me, I just don't feel like I've truly talked to God until I've talked to God. So I always try to make sure I do that. And then I will either write in this one, or if I feel like pulling this out because I have it in my desk, this is my little Be Thankful journal. And so something I will try to do instead of doing all of that is I will write out every single way I saw God move that day. And I think that is a really good way to kind of posture your heart before going into prayer. So actually, I take it back. I do that before I pray. And I have just really loved doing that, and I'm gonna kind of show you an example of what I mean from just a couple days ago. Like I did this, and I felt so good after doing this because it just reminds you of how even in the smallest way he's moving and he's there and he's present and he's like knitting things together. And so I'm gonna show you guys what I mean by that. So for example, I wrote that I woke up. That's always a good one to start with. I was running late, but I still made it to work early. Trying not to like give up too many personal details. I found out about a nap. I don't know. I forgot my debit card at home, and I was checking out at Walmart, and that could have been a disaster because I would have had to go all the way back home. But then I remembered my mom has a Walmart Pay app, so I like asked her for her username and password so I could download the app, and then I was able to pay with the app. And that could have been like a really bummer of a moment, but I'm like, I had the idea to download the app and call my mom. Like I very easily could have forgotten about that whole thing. I very easily could have forgotten that entirely existed. But you know what? I'm going to attribute that, and I'm going to thank God for that idea. I'm going to thank him for putting that in my brain, because I would have had to drive all the way home back to Walmart, make like a little walk of shame up to the customer service desk, but I didn't have to. So even little things like that, I'm just like, look at God move, you know? Even if it's something tiny, I want to give him the credit for it. So something like that. At my internship, like there's another intern, but I've never really gotten to like talk to her at all, and they moved her desk next to mine, and I was like, you know what, thank you God, because you're gonna do something with that. I don't know what, but you're gonna do something with that, you know? And so just little things like that, like literally so many things. And even the most uneventful of a day, you'd be surprised when you're intentionally trying to look for ways that God moved, you will see so much. And so that's something that I really like to do if I just don't have like 45 minutes to an hour to actually like go through the whole process. Just because that really makes me feel close to God. It reminds me that he's moving. It reminds me that he cares about me, he loves me, and he's doing something with my life. And it's just very easy to not see him when you're not intentionally looking, you know what I mean? It's almost like when you are looking for something, you're gonna find it. And so I just think when you're just dropped my pen. Anyways, when you're reading the word, intentionally looking for something, looking for things that talk about his character and your character, and when you're looking at your day and you're intentionally looking for ways that he's moved, he's spoken, he's inspired, and he has just knitted things together, you're gonna find it. And so that's just kind of how I like to go about that. Yeah, so that is pretty much how I do my quiet time, and that is just how I spend my time with God, really. Like I said, you should be in constant prayer every single day. Whether it's in your head, whether it's out loud, whether it's written, do what you feel works for you. I do encourage you to pray out loud to God. I think it really does something. Occasionally I'll like get on my knees and I'll pray. My bed is pretty high up, so it's a little hard. But I definitely encourage you to try different things and just see what makes you feel closest to God. But throughout all of it, I really think that when you are making a quiet time for God, do it with intention and intentionally seek out him. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's my little advice. That is how I go about my quiet time. I always get really close to the camera, I'm just noticing. But yeah, that is kind of how I go about doing that. I hope that that helps you. I hope that that encourages you and that you are able to get some tips out of that. I'll put the link to the YouVersion Bible app down below and any other resources that I may think about. But yeah, go get yourself a notebook, write yourself some notes, get yourself a little journal so you can write what you're thankful for, write the ways that you've seen him move, and you can just, this is your little like God stalker notebook. Like, you're going to stalk God and like just intentionally look for him and seek him in all the different aspects of your life and in the word, and I think it's really going to help you. So yeah, another big reminder is don't get too down on yourself if things do not turn out the way you would like to. I mean, obviously I would love to devote all of my time to God, and like, it's so much easier said than done. I understand, I get it. Number one example, I hear you, we're all busy, it's hard, I get it. But distraction and busyness is the enemy's favorite thing in the world. You know, the devil is happy when you are busy and you cannot give your time to God, and you don't want to make him happy, you want to piss him off. So definitely set out time and try to fight distraction and fight busyness, because something that I've recently discovered is that I am a creative. Like, everything I do is creative. Every approach that I have, like, I'm in a marketing internship right now, like I do YouTube, I'm a photographer, all these different things, and I cannot create if I am not in constant communication with my creator. You know what I mean? I just cannot be inspired if I am not constantly talking to the one who gives inspiration. And that has really always been a prime reminder to me of why I need to spend time with God, aside from the million cajillion other reasons. So yes, it's not easy, it's hard. Don't get down on yourself. There are, like I said, even on the days where I can't devote all that time, I have an alternative. And so find alternatives for you so that you just don't feel just defeated if you can't make the time, you know what I mean? So find your alternatives, share them down below when you do, because I would love to hear different ways that I can devote my time to God and just try different strategies, I guess, and I'm sure everybody else would really love them too. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped. If you have any more video ideas related to faith or just really anything else, I would love to talk more about that on this channel. So definitely put those ideas down below. And yeah, I hope this helps. If it did help, please let me know. And if, like I said, if you have any more strategies, let me know too. But yes, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye.